Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a quick little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Bestechman Ronan. It's got a crossbar or axis style lock. Really great materials and a really nice price. I'm going to link this knife right down below so you guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to, actually it was Going Gear who supplied this knife for review. Thanks to my patrons who are currently supporting this channel. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. This is what I would call a full-size knife just based on feeling it, but the actual measurement comes in shy of 8 inches, which is the mark that most people use to, determine that. 7.75 inches, a 3.35 inch blade, and it's a 3 1/4. Yeah, is that right? It's actually, it depends on where you measure it. A good portion of where you would measure the blade comes in at about 3.5, but if you measure it to the middle of the scale, it's 3.35, but the cutting edge is definitively 3 1/4. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Pretty good blade to handle ratio, honestly. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. I'm going to get these more to the middle. There, we have put the grid lines on the camera and I don't even use them. So there you go. I would say it's closer to the size of the Rat 1 in terms of presence and length. I mean, lengthwise it is sort of right in between, but it just has more of a full knife presence. How about up against the Civivi Elementum, and let's do the CJRB Pyrite. I think that'd be a good one. And then maybe the Demco AD 20.5. And let's do one more. Let's do the Spyderco Para 3. Alrighty, how's the action? It's actually really good. Bestech, they do OEM work, and they are obviously extremely capable. And in fact, in the last couple of years, some of the most impressive work that I have seen has come out of Bestech. They are right up there in terms of capability with Riot in some cases. Not all cases. I think Riot has better consistency and they're able to take somebody's kind of napkin design and make it really great. But Max Ace and Riot have that consistency, and then Bestech has the capability to do it, and it sometimes shines in their premium stuff, but I think people forget that they really shine when they do a good budget knife. Their overall execution, their quality of execution is spectacular. And this is a great example of that. It's very simple. It's obviously not a profile that we've never seen before. In fact, I don't know about you guys. I've seen this profile 700 or 800 times, but it's done well. The G10 looks nice, right? Fit and finish, all of that. But the action, which is what we're supposed to be talking about, is very good. This responds exactly the way you want a crossbar lock to respond. You can reverse flick it. You can forward flick it. When you pull back, there's very minimal stick. I think it's just like almost nothing. But the blade swings very freely into the closed position. It's really nice, really snappy. Nothing feels sloppy or floppy. We don't need any of that in our lives, right? I don't need any excess sloppiness or floppiness in my life. But yeah, it works. That's good. That's what I want it to be. Let's go ahead and do carry profile thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here we have full steel liners and pretty big thick pieces of G10, but they are contoured, which is something you should take note of. When these, when we have excess material and it's not contoured, it really feels like holding onto a brick. That's not the case here. We'll talk about that more here in a second. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. We're looking at slightly longer than the Para 3, slightly shorter than the PM2, not quite as tall as either. Where you'll notice it in the pocket is just the thickness of the material. Speaking of the materials, enunciator. I need to be doing exercises before I do knife reviews so that people can understand what I am saying. G10 and steel liners, and we have 14C28N. I know people are, a lot of people right now are actually going to leave the video and go check the price. You'll be happy to see what the price is. We'll talk about that here in a second. Weight. The scale is, there it is. I'm going to guess that this comes in a little on the heavy side. I'm going to say 4.5. Let's say 4 1/4. Oh man, that almost never happens. Almost exactly 4 1/4. So not a perfect ounce and inch ratio. Ounce and inch ratio. Not everybody cares about that. Balance is slightly back of the middle of the primary, what I call the primary choil, or where you're going to have your index finger in, in the natural position. So not bad, right? It's certainly not crazy. The Ritter Hogue, which is a little bit bigger, actually comes in just a little bit heavier, right? So the ratios on this knife are not perfect, and this is one of the best pocket knives in existence, in my opinion. So yeah, I can't really be too upset about that. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. I'm pretty sure Bestech pretty much exclusively deals in T8 hardware, which is great. I mean, for the pivot. But your body screws are going to be T6, and same with the pocket clip screws. So, okay, a couple of screws on each side, not a big deal, pretty easy. This is a sandwich construction axis lock knife. So taking the scales off will not be that big of a deal. But like if you want to take it all the way apart and then put it back together, you are dealing with Omega springs and an axis style lock that has no... nothing here that's helping it more than something like a Benchmade. So if you've ever taken apart a Benchmade, you'll know that initially you're like, I can do it. And then you get in there and you're like, I can do it, but this is going to be a little more complicated than I thought. It's not the easiest thing in the whole world the first time. After you do 2, 3, 4 of them, you get used to it. But just be warned, there's a lot of parts. Make sure you have a place to put your hardware. You're going to be holding things down and slipping things into place and sort of holding, and there's a sharp edge. So I always say don't take this stuff apart. You can help it, right? Sometimes Omega springs break. It's pretty rare, but if they do, they are very easy to find. I know people are like, I hate Omega springs because then if they break, what are you going to do to replace it? You can just get another one. They're actually pretty easy to size and get off of like eBay, and they're not expensive, right? So yeah, it'd be great if there was a warranty in place to just get you another one for free, but I don't believe that's the case. If I'm wrong, correct me, that's fine. But sizing and replacing Omega springs is not that big of a deal. It's pretty unlikely that they will break, but they do, so just bear that in mind, and you might have to take it apart and replace it. So let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness. So we have, that looks like 120 to me, maybe. Let's see. Nope, it's actually a little thicker. Is that really true? Let's make sure we're grabbing this flat there. That's 135, 135 thousandths. So right smack dab in the middle. Let's see here. Is there anything else I need to talk about? I don't think so. Yeah, this is a knife that feels nice in the hand, and it's because they decided to heavily chamfer the edges here and contour the scales. If you're going to have a liner and then the scale material and then the scale itself is going to be pretty thick, I think that's extremely important to do that. Just making a thick rectangle, it's not a comfortable handle, so it's nice that they did that. We got a little bit of a pokey bill here, and you will notice it. I think it might be sticking up just a little bit too much. Fortunately, they didn't round it and bring it over to like this duck face that a lot of companies seem to think is like absolutely necessary. I think people at this point are like, MC is so overdramatic about that. And maybe you're right. Maybe I am. But I cannot stand that. So I'm happy that they did not do the weird like duckbill, the thing that just is insisting on grabbing anything that you walk by and bending itself out. I'm happy they didn't do that, but this is a little bit pokey. Fortunately, they didn't make it super long, so it's minimal, but you'll feel it a little bit. I'm not ready to call it like, a hot spot with, oh, my hand, I'm crippled for life, but you're gonna feel it, just a little bit. They have a little space up here that suggests you could choke up. They just didn't round any of this out in a meaningful way to where you feel safe enough to put your finger up there. I mean, you can. It's just not comfortable, and I feel like I might slice my finger. It would have been nice if this area was more rounded out to be more accepting of a human finger, because that's kind of what I want to do, since the initial or the primary grip, the standard grip, it leaves you so far from the cutting edge, especially when the thumb stud's not super in the cutting path, but a little bit. So if you're going to cut straight down, you got to be way out here, right? I mean, most of us don't cut straight down, we cut at an angle, but It would have been nice to have that area a little bit more accommodating. The thumb studs are actually really great. The thumb studs are shaped nicely. They're very easy to manipulate. The whole knife is very comfortable to manipulate. It's not anything. I mean, if you are going to sit around and fidget with it, you could flip it 100 times. It's not going to wear your fingers out. Not that that really matters in a utility scenario, but if you were wondering, everything is very comfortable. There's a flat that runs out maybe 55% the length of the blade, and then this area it tapers down to a reasonably thin cutting edge, and the factory edge is done really well. In fact, the overall blade is nice. Bestech has a better looking machine satin finish than a lot of companies. I think they just do a better job of it. It's not my favorite finish. I always prefer like a tumbled finish, but this looks fine. It's 14C28N, and I think the geometry is about perfect for it. You have not a super thin, but not a super thick blade stock. You have a thin enough cutting, final cutting apex. You have a nice tip. 14C28N is reasonably tough, has reasonable edge retention, is fairly easy to sharpen, and is also stainless, making it one of the most well-rounded compositions that you can get. It also has a fairly fine grain structure, so it's really nice. Honestly, it's a great steel, and this is kind of, it's a really, really generic blade geometry, but it's the type of thing that works really, really well with 14C28N and should be just fine for the vast majority of EDC tasks. You have a little bit of jimping up here, and that's great. I think it works well with the ergonomics. I don't want to be, hypercritical here. There's really not a whole lot to critique. It's a pretty straightforward design. We've got a simple backspacer. We've got a lanyard bar. There's no place for this to be mounted for lefties, which is absolutely stupid. You have an ambidextrous lock. Why would you not have an ambi clip? Why would you not have mounting positions for left and right-handed carry? That is any company that's making the axis lock. Like the idea here, the benefit of the axis lock is not just strength and manipulation. It's the fact that whether you are right or left-handed, it doesn't change how the knife is manipulated. It doesn't change how it's deployed, how it's disengaged, right? So why would you make it to where only right-handed people can carry? I mean, yeah, people are like, oh, well, just put it in your pocket like this. Well, that's a problem because there's nothing holding the blade in other than the tension of the lock. Well, it's the same way in your right-handed pocket. No, it isn't, because if you're a sane human being, you have this. If you're a weird person, you have this clipped into your pocket up against the front seam near the crotchal region, which is a bad place to clip your knife. I've seen people do this. The only thing worse than the people who clip their knives outside of the pocket are people who clip their knives on the inside seam near the crotchular V. What is wrong with you? It goes up against the back seam, period. No arguments. I cannot be bothered to hear arguments about this. Up against the back seam. This keeps it away from the crotchular region. And up, and the blade is also pinned safely in place by the back seam of your pocket, or the back wall of your pocket. So doing the same thing but putting in your left-handed pocket, well, because this is a right-handed clip, now there's nothing keeping the blade in, which makes it open up. The tip opens up towards the crotchular region, which is a problem in and of itself. And when you put your hand in the pocket, which is typically what you do with pockets, you put your hands in them, right? No, there's a blade in there that's could potentially be open. So, Bestechman, the designer, if this is an in-house design? It certainly appears so. Guys, you really need to be mounting the pocket clips on both sides. I mean, honestly, there's really nothing here that looks so spectacular that it's absolutely ruined by a milled spot that would accept the pocket clip. The pocket clip is not symmetrical, right? Just design a symmetrical clip for these and put them on the other side. That really is a massive you literally miss out on the entire left-handed population who enjoys carrying their knives in a sane and safe way. So, do that. It's so, how did this out of there? Yeah, that's good. Go for it. Come on. In and out of the pocket, though, I mean, I still want to give this credit where it's due, because if you're right-handed, then none of that matters, right? Because you're going to be putting it in your right-handed pocket. So anyways, in and out of the pocket, very easy. We have nested screws. They paid attention to all these little details, like nested clip, nested screws. That's great, right? Easy in and out of the pocket. We got a stop pin back here with a, is there shouldering? No, it's just flat. That's fine. Runs on bearings. I think I already said that. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Very minimal stick. In fact, it's actually going away during the review. No pivot lash. Very smooth in here. Nice snap into the glue. It's really just, you know, approaching the event horizon of the rounded tang and then snapping back over it. There's no, that's what's acting as the detent. There's no detent ball or anything like that. Factory centering is very good, right? Just great. This knife comes in at $51. The pocket clip is a little bit, you know, it's a little pokey, right? The scales are a little thick, right? But wow, the price is really good. I have no problem with the price. Absolutely stupid not to have a lefty position for the pocket clip. That is just ridiculous. I don't get that. Hopefully it's not just Bestech. I mean, there's lots of companies who do this and it just makes no sense. As it sits, it is still absolutely a recommendable knife. This is going to go on my cheap knives I like playlist. I'm just hoping they make better choices in the future. This was actually a longer review than I intended because I ranted so long about the lefty pocket clip thing. I'm right-handed. I'm not left-handed, right? But I always try to imagine what it's like to be left-handed and exist in this knife world, which is absolutely catered towards right-handed people. And it's just silly. Like, especially, it's almost like they're laughing. Like, haha, not for lefties, you know. Come on. I know that's not what's actually happening here. But that was just that was just lazy. So I'm hoping that this is something that's corrected in future designs. But really nice, great execution, more great quality from Bestech. Definitely a recommendable knife if you are right-handed. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.